Welcome to my podcast story, the show where podcasters share the real journey behind their voices, from their first mic check to their biggest milestones. Every episode reveals the lessons, challenges, and breakthrough that shape a podcast star's journey. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo, and I can't wait for you to hear today's story. In today's episode of my podcast story, we have Julia Toothacre, the dynamic host of the Control Your Career podcast. Julia is a seasoned career coach and strategist who brings over 14 years of experience helping ambitious professionals take ownership of their career paths. Her podcast delivers actionable insights and features industry professionals sharing strategies for career growth, leadership development, and personal advancement. What makes Julia's podcasting journey fascinating is a blend of academic expertise with real-world application. Having taught career development at prestigious institutions like USC and creating courses for LinkedIn Learning, while also navigating her own significant life transitions. She's here to share how she transformed her career coaching experience into a powerful podcast platform that's challenging conventional workplace wisdom and providing professionals with the framework they need to stop waiting for permission and start taking control of their careers. Tell us your name and the name of your podcast.
My name is Julia Toothacre, and my podcast is called Control Your Career.
Okay, what's the podcast about? I know it sounds descriptive, but, tell us.
So my podcast has to do with all things career, but specifically helping people learn how to take control of their career, especially if they're in a space where they're feeling lost or just not quite sure what to do or where to go. I think the majority of my episodes help with some direction and are very action oriented.
Wow. How old is the podcast?
We launched in December 2019. So how long is that?
That's
5 years? Almost
wow,
5 years.
That's 6. Okay. 6 years, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
somewhere
6
around.
years.
Yeah, something like that. It's been a
Wow,
minute.
that's long.
Mhm.
Wow, you've been doing this for quite a long time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
What were the events that led to you deciding to say, "Oh, I'm going to start a podcast"?
Well, I knew that I wanted to start a business of some kind, but I wasn't quite ready to go 100% in on coaching. I had been coaching previously and just needed a little bit of a break from that, but also wanted to continue to do something. And so the idea for the podcast came up. I had a lot of knowledge that I wanted to share in career development. And so I started with solo episodes and just sharing all of that knowledge as much as I could. And it's evolved from there.
Wow. Okay. What was the first 6 months or 1 year like for the podcast?
Honestly, it was terrible. And the reason for that is because I launched the podcast, and I think it was toward the end of my first season is when COVID hit. And I saw a big drop off in my numbers. And not only that, I had a season planned that I had to scrap because it wouldn't have worked for what was going on. And so I just had to pivot and I had to change and do some different things. We survived it, but I feel like had COVID not happened, my numbers probably would have been better early on, just because, people were home, they weren't commuting and listening to podcasts as much. So it was an interesting time that I would prefer not to go back to.
Yeah, it's different because for most persons, COVID made their podcast grow and made them really famous. But for your podcast, it's about work. So because during the COVID period, no one was working. But I feel like if no one was working, okay, I see. What I'm thinking in my head is the fact that people don't like. Is it that people don't like to listen to people talk about work when they're not working?
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's basically what happened. That's what I felt happened. And I think I tried to pivot as quickly as I could. And I don't know, it's one of those hindsight is 2020, right? I don't know that I pivoted the right way. However, that pivot also laid a foundation for content that is still listened to today. And so even though the numbers didn't happen at that point. And I was also like, my business was new, everything was new. So I didn't have a following. I didn't, I didn't have all of that yet. And so I was still building. And I think I hadn't come into my own enough in the podcast and then in my business to really get the traction that I wanted. And so again, that led to more pivots and trying different things. I ended up doing interviews. I never wanted to do interviews. And that's a lot of what I do now, interspersed with solo seasons. So
Wait. That is a very curious thing. Okay, what's the word? A peculiar thing. No, it's not peculiar per se. It's one of those things that people have, and I love to explore it. Why? What was the thought process behind you not wanting to do interviews?
I was scared. I was scared to do that. I had never done something like that. I didn't know if I would be good at it or if I would enjoy it. Because I started the podcast under the guise of just wanting to educate people and, use all my years in career development to give them information. I just held back on it a lot. That was me, and then once I did that first season and I got a little bit more comfortable with it, then it became like, oh, now who can I interview and what can we do and what themes can we have? And it's been really fun and I've definitely grown into that. But I always love doing the solo episodes and solo seasons because at my heart, I'm a coach and an educator. So I just, put a mic in front of me and I'm going to go and I'm going to teach. And I love that too. So
Yeah. I think there's a format you've not yet explored, and that is coaching people on the podcast. Have you done that?
You are like the third or fourth person to tell me that in in the last handful of months. Yeah. So that makes me so nervous to find people that are willing to be coached.
Okay, it's just that. Okay, wait. Do you feel that I need your services? Right? Because I don't know. Like I don't have a quote unquote a traditional career, right? Mm-hmm. I'm just like trying things and figuring out what works.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of people.
Right, but it would be nice for me to sit down and get free premium coaching from you for 1 hour. That's a win for me. and then you get content
that way.
you get content that demonstrates your expertise. People can see what it looks like to work with you without having, because this is in business, people prefer to believe from other people's experience rather than to pay to believe. I don't know if it makes sense.
It does. No, you're okay. You're planting the seed again because you're not the first person to say that. So I will heavily consider it now.
Yeah, I mean, getting what's the word? Getting participants. It's not hard. Like if you decide to do it, there are a lot of creative ways. I don't know if you have an email list.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, just send them.
I'm sure I can think of people who would probably do it with me.
Yeah, do the sections, and then you do this. What they call it now? This series. There after you coach them, maybe 2-3 months, depending, or maybe 6 months, depending on how long it takes for them to effect the change. You come back and say, we did this and this. You analyze the results, right? They might have to come back. They might not come back on the podcast. It doesn't really matter. But guess what happens? Because this is the thing. When you coach people, right? If let's say I'm your target audience, right? I see myself in the person you are coaching. Because usually it's the same problem that they have most of the time. You're like, oh, I'm scared of this and this. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. That's totally me. Right? And when you start giving advice, what happens is that I displace the person you're coaching from the conversation, and I put myself there, and I feel like you're talking to me, and now I connect with it, and so it's the way different from, oh yeah, you should totally do this on the regular solo episodes, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, that stuff is interesting, and you're just talking to everybody. I don't really care.
Okay, I'm gonna put a note to talk to my producer about that.
Wow, you do have a producer.
I feel like she'll be really excited though.
Yeah, it's like, honestly, it would be like in my head, I'm just thinking of a lot of creative ways you could actually get, like, other than just making content from it. Number one is, if you were to make an episode about me coaching me, right? I would be super excited to share that episode.
Okay, well, you might be on the list then.
Oh, that would be nice. That would be nice. The other thing is that I know that I would listen to the episode multiple times because I want to listen to the advice you gave to me again and again and again. Okay, she said this. I might listen to it maybe more than 20 times, as many times as it takes me to like, get to say, oh yeah, that's true. She analyzed my, I go again and again and again. And it's, okay.
All right.
I'm
Okay.
trying to search your podcast to just see what it looks like. Is it on YouTube?
It is, yes.
Okay, so I'll share my screen and you let me know if you can see my screen. Okay. Oh yeah, this should be it. Yeah, this is it. Okay, can you see it?
I can, yep, there we go.
Okay, what's I had courage to, what's the name of the podcast?
Ride the Tide. Well, my YouTube is Ride the Tide Collective, which is my company name.
Okay, what's the podcast name itself?
Control Your Career.
Okay, let's see. Your career. Because let's just imagine that, I attended an event you were a speaker on, and you're like, oh, I do have a podcast, and you just mentioned it in passing. And I'm like, yeah, I love that vibe. Let me go check out our podcast, Control Your Career. Okay. Okay. That's it, right?
Control Your Career.
Okay, let me see if I need to add the podcast.
Oh, you passed me.
Is this you?
Nope, go up. Go up.
This is you, right?
Nope. Go up. Right there.
This is you.
That's one of my seasons, yeah.
Wow. Okay, let me look at it and let's see. Okay. Wow. Okay, so you don't have the podcast as a podcast on your YouTube.
Yeah, this is an interesting conundrum that I was into. So I rebranded the podcast about a year ago to be Control Your Career. So before that, it was Ride the Tide Collective, which is my company name.
Yeah.
And the choice to switch the name was partially because Control Your Career is kind of just where my business is headed. I have a lot of things tied to that kind of title, and I have a process and all of that. Yeah. And so we decided to switch the podcast to also make it more searchable, not in YouTube, but in podcast platforms when you would search career, to have more of a chance to come up. And so when that happened, I did not rebrand the YouTube station. It is in the talks, but we haven't gone forward with it yet because it is the company name. So we've been in this like limbo of what to do about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, think of it this way, like how big companies like, let's say Google, they have subsidiary products, right? And those products, they have their names too. But they're all part of the ecosystem. Right. Google, some popular names of Google products. I know they like to add Google to it, but like Apple, they have iCloud. iCloud is like storage and all those things. Sometimes they call it Apple iCloud, but most of the time it's just iCloud. Right. And then for Google, we have YouTube, which is a different name completely. We have Gmail, yeah, right? And there is what's it? Google has a lot of products. I think Google is they're the one that
Google coined the word. Lot of products.
They're the one that coined the word Google Sheets. I don't think Sheets was a word before Google. I think it was Excel before. Okay, they name it from spreadsheets. They name it Sheets, and now we have so it's a full ecosystem. It's building the brand. Is the domain Control Your Career? Is it owned by the company?
Yeah, it's all
okay, so you bought it.
Same. Sorry?
You bought the domain.
I'm sorry?
The domain Control Your Career.
Oh, I do not own the domain Control. I own the domain Control Your Career now.
Wait.
Do you want the story on that?
Because wait, let me show you what I'm seeing so you can see it. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
You see this price?
I do. So what's funny, okay, so I searched this a number of years ago when I was starting, and the offer that I was given was $10,000.
Ooh.
Yeah. Wow, so okay. I haven't searched it in a long time because I ended up buying the domain Control Your Career Now instead. So this is actually new. I have not seen this. It was so expensive before that I was like, yeah, hard pass. I'm just starting my business. And
I feel like you could negotiate.
But now maybe I need to go.
You could negotiate this to So under $1,000, like this is not the
Yeah.
final price, right? I think there are systems where you can actually reach out to the person that owns the domain, because what they do is they buy the domain and then they sell it for
Right.
people ahead.
Right.
So you can negotiate and say, okay, since you are not a quote unquote big company, so they won't feel like it's like if someone like Tesla wanted to buy this domain, of course, I'm not going to. The moment I know that it's Tesla, I'll change it to $50,000 instead, because I know that these people, they have the money to spend. But if it's regular small businesses like us, you can negotiate with them and just take it off their hands from maybe I don't know what the price might be. And
Yeah.
controlyourcareer.com is just so brandable, straight to the point,
I
and it's
know.
easy. Yeah.
I know. I love it. I love it. Well, I'm going to explore it again, hopefully
Yeah.
before this episode goes live, so that nobody else snags it.
Yeah. That would be a long time. This episode will be live in September, so before then,
Oh, perfect.
you would have done testing. Now,
We'll have dealt with it by then.
for the YouTube channel, I would just maybe get your producer to add the podcast as a podcast on the YouTube channel. You know what I mean, right? Or should I show you an
Yes. So
example?
we have it. I have it on the back end. I have the RSS feed. And what we've been doing is actually going back and repurposing and re-releasing some of the older seasons that weren't video, that were audio only. So we're in the process of doing that. And so we're doing it that way instead of it just being the RSS feed on there. Like, we're making new thumbnails, we're updating the descriptions and all of that. So yeah, we're in the process of
Yeah.
This is the bad part about rebranding too, I will tell you, is it becomes really cumbersome later. And then I started with audio only and not video. And so I have a lot of audio seasons that, again, we're switching over and making some updates to launch those onto YouTube as well. So
yeah. I mean, the reason I'm saying this is, podcasts, usually we promote it on platform on other places, and so when people hear about the podcast, the first thing they do is they go search for whatever apps or platforms they use to listen to podcasts. And so on YouTube Music, if you add the podcast as an actual quick break, before we continue, I'd love to invite you to join the My Podcast Story newsletter. Each week, I share highlights from our guest stories, behind the scenes podcasting tips, and resources to help you grow your own show. You can sign up at mypodcaststory.com/join. That is mypodcaststory.com/join. Now let's get back to the episode. So I know the content is on the platform. So what I was saying is, so people, they would go to, and YouTube is like a big podcast listening. So if the podcast is,
okay,
yeah, I'm here with you.
Okay.
I don't just know what's happening. It's just interfering my flow.
That's okay. We can get it back.
Okay.
That's why Riverside's so good for editing. You just cut this part out.
Yeah. What was I even saying again for the British transmission? So it makes it easy for people to find and search for the podcast. And yeah, like you said, you had to tell me write the collective. But if you when you just told me control your career and that was what I had, if I searched for the podcast, it would have been difficult trying to find it. But if you have, let me see if I can show you. Oh, I'm trying to see. Okay, let me see. Let me. Hopefully, my podcast ranks. If not, then I'm like, I try to show you, but then it's the other way around. Okay, so I'm putting myself on the spot. I don't know if it ranks, but let's see. So if I search for which of the podcasts will I search for now? This one, my podcast story, right? Hopefully it ranks.
Oh,
if it doesn't, okay.
Well, you're definitely cutting in and out, but
yeah. Can you see my screen
back now?
Okay, so yeah.
Not currently.
Yeah, can you see it now?
No.
Okay, let me try sharing again. So, I don't know, the internet is just affecting. The reason why I would have used my phone, but I want to share screen and do all these things. I can't do those things on my phones. Okay. If not, I would have just used my phone directly.
I can see it now.
Okay. So this is ranking, but this is the thing I want to show you. You see this is the podcast. So I have added the podcast officially, right? Okay. let me try and do something else. If I was to search for it on YouTube Music, right? You see, yeah, like, because YouTube Music is more like the Spotify of YouTube. Did you get that?
I did not. It cut out.
Okay. I said, if I was to search for it on YouTube Music, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's more like the Spotify of what do you call it now? Of YouTube. So if I can you see this tab, right?
Yes.
So you see that this is ranking as a podcast, right? Now I'll try. Let me see if I can see. Let me search for your podcast. Control your career.
It's not going to be on there.
So it's simple. I know I'm saying add it as a podcast, but in essence, it's actually add it as a specialized playlist, right? So yeah. So you see now, this is not even showing. Okay, let's see podcast. It's not there, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, because I don't have it
As a podcast, right?
as
But
a
your content is
podcast.
on YouTube, but it's not added as a podcast. And this thing, it won't take up to 5 to 10 minutes to set up. It's just to copy and paste, and you have it up. And so once you start releasing an episode, you add it to the playlist of that podcast, and so people can easily find it. Yeah, that way it's easy, because so that when people search for it, they can find it easily wherever they are, on YouTube Music, on YouTube. And I'm hoping that the audio part, you already have that dialed in.
Okay. I'll look at that. And like I said, it's hidden. It uploads every time. We just haven't gone live with it because we're repurposing it more into video, but I'll look at doing just audio, especially for more recent episodes that are also in video, because we were trying not to double up on it, but what you're talking about makes sense. So I'll look at that again. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, what were we even saying before we end up on this spiral of YouTube and all that side? So the podcast is about 6 years now. How's the podcast doing in terms of numbers?
I feel like this is one of those conversations that I constantly fight against, where it's like, I wish, there were more numbers, and I want it to be this and that. And I feel like in the last year, I've put probably the most effort into optimizing it as much as I can, and we've adjusted and things. I feel like the numbers are never going to be where I want them to be, but I will say we've seen the most growth in this last season because of how I structured the season and just the effort that we put into titling and descriptions and all of that. So the other thing that I think about when it comes to numbers, like for me, I look at, is this something that's going to stand the test of time, basically? So what I learned early on in the podcast, especially when I started coaching again, was people would find me and then they would go listen to the podcast and then they would reach out. And so the podcast became this tool that they would use to kind of vet me as a coach and get this idea of who I was.
Yeah.
And when I heard that enough times, I stopped worrying about the numbers. And I think that makes why I do the podcast different than somebody else who solely does podcasting. Because for me, I want to be able to reference it. I want to be able to send people to the podcast and use episodes for years and years because it has content that is going to be relevant to somebody somewhere. And so I feel like my numbers are never going to be where I want them to be. They're better, but I'm never going to put, this sounds so bad, I'm never going to put enough effort into it to get to where it could be, because it's not my primary focus, if that makes sense.
I feel like the numbers are not actually going to ever get to the point where I want it to be. So my question is, what do you want the numbers to be, and what are the numbers currently? So we see.
So, I mean, I would love to get to a place where the episodes are, I think, more discoverable quickly, right? So that we're getting kind of that thousands of, listens and views per episode.
Yeah.
That's where I would love for it to get to. Having said that, what I do is fairly niche, which I feel like a lot of podcasts are really niche.
Well, I mean, it's not that niche. It's career, right?
I mean,
That's
yeah,
like
I
if
think
you
the
are an
difference.
entrepreneur or a career.
Well, okay, so here's what I think the difference is between me and other career people out there is I won't sacrifice myself for views and listens and all of that. And so I'm not necessarily going to have that eye-catching title, or I might not cover something that's going on, in the market at that time, that's timely and all of that. Everything I do is very planned out and intentional in alignment with my business.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's almost to my detriment, right? But what I do love, and I actually just met with somebody today who talked about this, they said they had seen me speak at some event and went on to my website and just started listening to podcast episodes and went through my catalog and were picking things to listen to. And they said, I got such a good understanding of who you are and your style from those episodes. And that was so helpful for me to be able to approach this call today. That's what I'm looking for at the end of the day. And that's why when I look at my numbers, I'm like, I wish this would have done better, but it is what it is. The right person at the right time will find it. And if that person turns into a client, then it's all worth it to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to tell the quantity, but it's hard to tell the quality of the listeners. Like who are the people listening to your podcast? Are they CEOs, top executives, and
I
right?
mean, yeah, like my target audience is kind of that mid-career space. People who are figuring things out and trying to manage through and all of that. And the seasons I choose based a little bit on what I'm hearing from clients and sometimes what's going on in the market. Right. So my current season at the time of us filming this or recording this is called The Recruiter's Perspective. So I'm bringing on recruiters to talk about hiring and to talk about what's going on, because we had layoffs running rampant and still are, like all these things are happening in the world of work, in the world of hiring. So I wanted to bring recruiters on to really set the record straight. While that's really great, my target audience is really not people who are unemployed or have been laid off. Most of my clients are already employed and are looking for kind of that next thing. And so that season has attracted a different audience, which is fine, but it's an audience that I'm not necessarily going to be the best fit for given their situation, right?
Yeah.
And so I recognized that about halfway in and realized that my next season has to adjust to make sure that I'm speaking to the right audience. And so between this season and next season, I feel like we're really honing in on how do we create episodes that are going to be more searchable, where people can find me and that are really going to showcase who I am as a coach, the process that I have, all that type of stuff.
Wow. How does the podcast connect to the business? Let's talk some money.
Yeah. So for every episode, I usually promote, every season, I choose a program that is closely linked to whatever I'm talking about. And I put a little commercial in there with it and promote it. So I always try to link things back to the business. I think too, just how I interview and how I interact with my guests, I really make sure to obviously give them a voice and honor what they're saying, but I will also, talk about things from my perspective and what I see with clients and what I hear out in the market and all that. And so I think for me, it's really reinforcing my expertise in the field and giving people something to listen to, and view so that they feel more comfortable with me as a coach.
Okay, so these are some of the options on the website. Please, if you're watching or listening and you're into career and please do check out our website. It's ridethecollective.com. Ridethecollective.com. I'll put the link in the show notes so you can check it out over there.
Thank
Wow,
you.
so this is the course. There's DIY options. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Oh, okay. I think, okay. Yeah. Like you're crushing it. You're a professional.
I try to be.
Yeah. Like when I like, the thing about and this when I say this, the thing about expertise and all that is that the way you in life, the way you dress is the way people perceive you to be an expert, right? So if you're like, oh, I'm a top level executive and a coach and all that, and you show up and there's a way you dress, and I'm like, nah, I don't really. Like it has nothing to do with your expertise, but I'm looking at you, I'm like, yeah. Same thing with the websites. With the website is well, we're like, yeah, I mean, this website is, yeah. She looks like she knows her stuff, like even though it has nothing to do with your expertise, but people judge a book based on the color of its cover or how it looks.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what I'm doing, depends on what my dress is. Most podcasts I do, this is how I dress. I dress in brand colors. I dress simply. Sometimes I throw a jacket on. Depends on who I'm interviewing with, what the purpose of the podcast is. If it's my podcast and it's somebody who is a higher level executive, I usually throw on a jacket. I think there's a time. So this is kind of an interesting question as like a business owner. I think there's a time and a place for everything. And looking at your podcast and the topic and all of that, I wanted to come on because I think that my podcast journey is really unique and different than the average person. So I was like, oh, this will be fun to do. But for me, this is a more casual interview than something else that I would do. And so my dress is going to look different, right? Whereas I did an interview, a couple months ago for my podcast and had a CMO on, and I had my jacket. I probably wore this shirt and put a jacket over it, right? So that it elevates the look a little bit more. But also coming from a space where I had to dress nice every single day, I told myself, I was like, look, there are certain things that I'm always going to do. I'm always going to do the hair. I'm always going to do the makeup, and I'm going to show up a certain way. But for my business, I'm going to keep my dress as simple as possible and as comfortable as possible for me, because that's my prerogative as a business owner. And realizing that was a very freeing experience for me.
Yeah, you see, I just have to say this, right? Ever since you hopped on the call, I've always been looking like straight into your eyes, and that is the fact that the color of your eyes matches the color of your shirts. I mean, the shirt is darker, but I'm like, what's going on here? Yeah, that's really nice.
It's almost like it's intentional.
I'm like, wow. And then the background of the video, shades of blue, and I'm like, wow, it's all right. If that's what they're doing here, that's nice.
So I don't share this very often anymore, but my background is in art and graphic design. Okay. And so because of that, I'm very sensitive to my, like, how things look, the colors that I wear. If you go and look through YouTube, or if you look at any videos that I have done or podcasts that I've done, you will see me in this color, black or gray. You will never see me in another color.
Wow.
So it's a brand thing.
Signature brand. Like, yeah, yeah, that lady that wears this color of clothes, like, yeah.
But it makes it easy for me to get dressed, honestly. I don't have to think about it. I have like 3 shirts that I wear.
Yeah, it's like a uniform. Oh, you put on, in engineering, there's what they call an overall. You just put on the overall and you're set for work, and you get your stuff done.
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. So the podcast is connected to the business, and for each of the podcasts, you do promote and talk about some offers or programs depending on the relevance to the season of the episode. How has the podcast been? Because now this is a purely, I won't say purely, it's saying something is purely business is not a bad thing to say, right? Because business is meant to solve people's problem. That's it, right? If a business doesn't solve people's problem, then it's a scam, because now you're just taking my money, and I feel like you didn't give me any value, and I'm like, oh, you scammed me. Why do you do that? Okay. How is the podcast really generating revenue for the business? I know you told me earlier on that it's a way for people to get to decide and kind of like know and see what's working with you look like or sound like, right? Before they say, okay, yeah, I'm ready to work with her now.
Yeah, so I think it's confirmation. So I think my potential clients come from other spaces right now. And so earlier when you asked me about like what would you want for the podcast, I would want to see more new perspective clients come from the podcast, and that's what we have yet to crack. I'm hoping next season we'll be able to do that. But I think what I've seen most is people find me on LinkedIn, or I'm on a list, or it's a referral, and then they go to my website and they listen to the podcast as a confirmation, and like, does she actually know what she's talking about? So I see it that way. I don't think at this point it is bringing in new business. I think that's where I would love to see more growth and see it flip for me. And again, next season, the way that we are structuring it, I'm hoping that it will do that. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I will be honest, right? I love to get more listeners, right? I love that, right? It's nice. But sometimes we're so focused on the things we don't have that we forget the ones we have, right? Podcasting is also a way to keep in touch and stay in touch with your listeners, sorry, your audience, your fans, and just being in their mind every week or month, depending on how frequent you release episodes. It's a way to build relationship and get people like, because usually most times it's not like, okay, they buy my program, they buy my course, and that's it, right? No, it's more like, okay, you build this relationship, and then it's all later on in the line, they're like, yeah, I have this lady that I listen to her podcast. She's into coaching, and like, yeah, you could sign up for one of our programs, and stuff like that. So sometimes it's 2-3 years down the line, right?
Yes. So that's something that honestly, like, I pride myself in, is the long game. I am willing to play the long game with potential clients. And sometimes in the career space, that's what it is. They've been following me, they've listened, and something happens in their career. And that's when they come to me. And so I think that's why when people ask me about numbers, I'm like, could they be better? Sure. I think they can always be better. But at the end of the day, that's never really been the reason why I do the podcast. It's an extension of my business and something I just enjoy doing. So
yeah, it's good you mentioned that. I just realized that you did not answer the question of what's the number like, and what's number you wanted to have. I just realized that you didn't give me an answer.
I know I didn't answer that.
I see what you did there. Wow, that's smart.
I talked around it.
You just talked around it. Yeah. And you just made me forget. And now I've remembered.
I mean, okay, if I had to be honest, I feel like
you did answer it. You did answer it. I see. I won't have let go. You answered it. You said you wanted your podcast to get 1,000 downloads when an episode is released, something like that. But you didn't tell us like what you currently get.
So my episodes usually get like a couple hundred.
Wow, that's a lot.
Oh, I did not think that was a lot, but okay. So usually that's kind of where they fall out. It depends on the episode. I'll be completely honest. It depends on the episode. I have some that are really, I think, really niche and they just don't do as well. But again, I'm in it for the long game. I think eventually somebody will search for that topic and it will be helpful for them, right? I would love to get to a space where I'm in the like 500 to 1,500 listens or watches per episode. I think that would just, honestly, I think it'd be kind of cool to get into that level. But I've also recognized, the power of leveraging other people's audiences.
Yeah.
And so again, when we talk about like authenticity and all of that, that's something that I haven't done. I've done one season of other coaches in other areas, and it was a season that did very well because these are also other business owners that have their own audiences or their own podcasts. And so they were able to share, and they have a much broader network. But I've done other seasons where I'm bringing on regular people to talk about their career story. Well, they don't necessarily have a following, right? They're sending it out to friends and family. And I do, I will get listens and views from that, but it's very different, and the impact of that is very different. But that was something that was really intentional for me. And I get hit up all the time. I get hit up all the time for people to guest. and I turn everybody away because my seasons are very curated. I'm looking for a certain type of person. I'm looking for, everything is very intentional. And so I talked about this with my podcast producer because I think she would love to see me do a lot more, be more regular, bring other people on, talk to other career coaches and all of that. And I'm like, that's just not the route that I want to take the podcast because the podcast isn't my main thing. So
yeah, I get it. It makes sense. I just want you, can you quickly walk us through the workflow of your podcast? How does your podcast get made? What tools and what are the recipes you
ooh,
use in your
that's a good
toolbox,
question.
apps and all that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we actually changed a lot this last season. So I actually started using Riverside. So that was a massive change in workflow.
Riverside, come and sponsor me. Come and sponsor me. People are talking about you all the time on my podcast. I should be getting paid for this.
Yeah, well, it's seriously one of the best switches, and I've converted people too, just in the last couple of months.
I don't know if
I
you've
love it
noticed,
so much.
they just added a new feature where I can search for guests across all my episodes, right? There's a master
Yes.
search. You can search for even things in the transcript of an episode. So if we make a discussion, I'm like, oh, where did I tell my guest that I was going to send her a Canva template? And then it will pull it up, and I'm like, wow, this is such a time
Yeah.
saver.
They've made so many updates since I've started. It's been very exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, let me go back though. Okay. So every season I put together a questionnaire for potential guests. And it's basically getting basic information from them so that I have all the details. And then it also has like a waiver at the bottom. So I'm kind of covering all of my bases. So I do two things with this. One, if I'm searching for people, I will send it to them just to have them fill it out, but I will also usually go public with it. So I put what I'm looking for and then put that form up. And so then I get people that will apply and I look through and see if there's anybody that I want. Depends on the season, whether or not I make that public or not.
Yeah.
So I start there. There's a level of outreach. So I try to look within my network first of people who I'm connected to or who I already know personally. Anytime that I can get somebody on that I have met or communicated with before, I love doing that because I find that the conversation sometimes is just a lot easier. And I like supporting people in my network. So I will always try to do that first. And then I'll try to go outside of that if I need to. Again, it totally depends on the season. So then from there, most guests will schedule a 15-minute pre-call with me for us to talk about just how we do the podcast, if they have questions, anything that they're concerned about. It's also a way for me to test their video and audio to see how good it is, and if we need to make some adjustments there. So we do that. Then they schedule the hour just in case we go an hour. And then now we do it on Riverside. So it used to be on Zoom and there was not a lot of editing capabilities with Zoom and the quality was terrible. So we switched over to Riverside for this last season. It has been amazing. I think it's easier for the guest in some ways. I think it feels more official. Like it feels like they're doing something, because we're used to Zoom, we're used to Teams and all that, but this is different. People aren't using Riverside unless you're in the podcasting world. Yeah. And so I think it just gets them to feel like, oh, this is this is a big deal. I'm on a podcast. So I really like that side of it. And then from there, I send the episode to my editors and I send them any information I have about the guest along with any notes. And so if somebody flubs something, I'll try to let him know like, hey, we had some issues here. Just FYI, look out for that. And then he does all the editing. I started outsourcing editing about 1.5 years ago. Best decision ever. I used to do all my own editing. And it was fine, but it was just very time consuming. So send it off to them and then they will draft up all my details. So the show notes, they'll give me title options, like they'll draft everything for me. And I would say about, I don't know, 90% of the time, I don't even use what they draft. I come up with my own stuff. And I'll change it and adjust it because I usually have a structure. They follow the structure, but sometimes I just don't like the way that things are said and written out. AI is used a lot in terms of, pulling the content. And then I don't like the way that AI will phrase things. And so I'll go in and adjust and change, or it won't pick up on the content for that episode that I really wanted it to pick up on. And so I'll go in and make adjustments there. My producer and I spend a lot of time on titling and trying to make sure that the titles are unique and searchable and all of that. YouTube sometimes gets a different title than audio. It just depends on what's going on with the episode. So that's something new that we've been doing this last season. And then with Riverside, so Riverside allows you to pull clips from the episode. And I find that Riverside does a really good job of pulling clips, at least for me.
Yeah.
But even if it doesn't pull clips that I want, it's so easy to go in and pull what I want and edit it and all of that. And so I found that I'm getting a lot more social media content using Riverside than I ever did before. And so that's been really helpful because I've been able to actually send clips to my guests. And I've never done that before. And so that's been like a new thing that I've been doing kind of as a gift for them. And some use it, some don't, it's totally up to them, but they get an email with all the details and all the information for their episode along with their clips, and they're welcome to share those out. I won't share those. So I usually pull clips that are unique for them that I'm not going to share out. So that's my process.
When you share clips with them, is it like a Google Drive link or something like that, or a Dropbox link?
I'm gonna have to change it because I'm running out of space in Google, but it's just in the email through Google. Like, so it's usually Google will create like a link for it in the whatever the Google stuff is. I don't know. I can't remember the name. It's late here. Okay. So I just do it that way. But if I continue to do that, I'm going to have to do something else because it takes up too much storage space in my Google Drive.
In the email, you should have a message where you tell them that please share this and because they will be deleted after 90 days. And then if the clip, and when you are titling the clip, in Google you're able to see when the clips were created or when they were last updated on the files. So once in a while, every month or so, you just go in, and episodes that are older than 90 days, you delete them from your drive folder.
That's a good idea.
Because if someone is not going to share a clip after 90 days, I don't really think, I don't think they're going to share it or use it again. Yeah.
No, that's a good idea. I'm going to implement that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. You're welcome. Yeah. I don't know why people don't share clips, but I feel like most of the time, sometimes it's maybe you create content for a platform that they do not use, right? And what I'm thinking of doing is I'm thinking of coming up with a form system where before a guest books a time for my meeting, I ask them, are you open to sharing the clips or marketing materials if I make one for you? And then yeah, sure, yes. And once they click on yes, and then I ask them, what platforms would you want marketing materials to be created for you for free? And then they pick, LinkedIn, Twitter. And so that way, because they would only pick the platforms that they're going to share on. So instead of me making on this platform and this platform, wasting my time, I might as well just, because I want them to share. That's why I'm making the clips for them. It's not like, I want them to share and hopefully get some traffic to my end. And so they select the platforms, and because they have already said that they are going to share it, right? So it's more like, I ask you, I'm like, and then you're like, would you be open to reviewing my podcast if we do this interview? And like, yeah, sure, that's no problem, right? And now you've already made this promise. So in the future, when the episode goes live, and then I just send you an email, I'm like, hi, the episode is live, I would love for you to review it. And you've already made the promise. So it makes sense that you should review it rather than me just coming out and say, hi, Julia, leave me a review. And I'm like, nah.
Yeah, no, I would agree. As somebody who does a lot of podcast interviewing, I wish that more people would send me clips, especially as much as I do on Riverside now, and I
Yeah.
know what you can do. I'm like, send me something, you know, send me something because I will share it. You know, it blows my mind too how many people don't tag me in things. So an episode will go live and they will promote it and they don't tag me in it. And I'm like, I'm on every platform. There's no reason that you shouldn't be tagging me to take advantage of my audience. It's very interesting. You know, I don't know. People make choices.
Yeah. Yeah. The way the conversation is just going, and now I'm like, oh, it's 1 hour already. How time flies.
Yeah, you're coming up against my bedtime if I had to be really
Ooh,
honest.
Oh, I guess we have to round up things immediately. Uh, where can earlier on you mentioned your podcast, but where can my listeners learn more about you and what you do?
Yeah, so the best is my website, ridethetidecollective.com, but also I'm very active on LinkedIn. And so if you are somebody that's really interested in learning from me actively, I post on there pretty much every day. And that is where I check my messages the most as well.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Thank you. So that the name there will be, can you read out the name? What will be the name on LinkedIn? So if people were to search for you.
LinkedIn, you can search for Julia Toothacre and you will find my profile. It'll come up. I think
Okay.
my link is still my maiden name, so it'll be Julia Russell, but Julia Toothacre will also come up.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, thank you so much, Julia. It's been an absolute delight chatting with you.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was really fun. And I got some good ideas from it. So I'm excited to go implement that as well. Thank
Yeah,
you.
please let me know if there's anything regarding podcasting or you just want to chat or any of those things, just message me. You know where to find me. Yeah. Send me an email.
Awesome. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I'll stop the record. That's it for today's episode of my podcast story. I hope you enjoyed listening to this journey as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. If you found value in today's episode, make sure to subscribe and leave a review. It really helps others discover the show. And don't forget to join the newsletter at mypodcaststory.com/join for more stories and podcasting insights. Until next time, keep telling your story because someone out there needs to hear it.